Alright, let's do this. I'm going back to 1955.
This is me if I lived in 1955.
Okay.
Here I am in 1975.
Ooh.
And 1995. 2015.
Wow.
And then today. I'm going to put myself in the shoes of a middle income earner in all of these decades to answer a very important question about the United States. Is the average American better off today than they were all these decades ago? Does the typical American make more money, have a better chance of owning a home? It's an important question because this graph shows
we don't talk about getting a home in the big old 2025 chat. I'm scared.
That our economy has grown immensely since the 50s. I mean, we've got the largest economic pie on Earth. And
yeah, but the pie got bigger, proverbially speaking. But we out here are licking the pan while Bezos eats the whole damn crust and everything inside of it. It's not about how big the dang economy is. It's about who's eating it, chat. And it sure as hell ain't us, chat.
Even when you account for inflation and the fact that our population has grown, you still see immense growth. I mean, look at this. We've added
big number, big. Ooh, was that 2008? I wonder. This big dip right here. Maybe it's this one.
Tons of prosperity in this country.
Oh yeah, it's
theoretically,
this one.
Every person is entitled to
chat.
some part of. Or, as some economists put it, has our country produced shared prosperity?
When I think about how well the economy delivers, I think about how well it delivers for the people, for the workers and their families. How well are they receiving that prosperity?
I'm going to show you how all of this economic prosperity we've created has been shared or not shared.
Okay, I'm ready.
And in all of this, I want to get to the bottom of perhaps one of the most important questions in our country, which is everyone able to move up? If they work hard enough or if they get educated, can you climb the economic ladder here?
Are you gonna...
You know what's funny? I remember there was an old man that visited my old work, and he told me a story of how he's been at the same company for like 50 years or something, and they've been treating him real well. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not actually a reality for 99.9% of people. Because you have to in order to gain money or like a wage increase as a person like Zillennial, Millennial, or Gen X, you have to hop around jobs. You cannot stay loyal. You can't. You have to hop.
You do better
you change
than
jobs
your
every
parents.
2 to 3
Can you
years.
reach higher levels of income? Can you change your relative position?
The American dream, we sometimes call it. A, quote, dream of a better, richer, happier life for all citizens of every rank. Is that still alive? And if not, why? I believe that answering these key questions is incredibly important for the future of this country, which is why we've been deep in all of the data, and I'm going to try to lay it out as clearly as possible by traveling through time. As always, all of the assertions in this video are fact-checked and linked in our sources.
Okay.
So with that, let's
Sources?
start traveling back in time.
It's good. I like that. This guy's on point.
Okay, so I'm traveling back towards the 1950s. As we move through time, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this main graph. This graph is kind of our anchor. It will be showing how—
Damn, what happened here? We were like flatlining, then boom.
The economy has grown over time. And again, it's adjusted for prices and population growth. When this graph goes up,
this is
it
post
means
World
that
War
there's
II,
more
right?
economic prosperity to go around. We're going to see how it gets divided up. And for each decade, I'm going to be looking at these 4 economic indicators. Am I making more money? Can I afford a house?
Nope.
Is this economic growth being shared equally by everyone? And how likely am I to be making more than my parents? Oh look, we're arriving to the 1950s.
Yay! Grandpa, Grandma
So
over
it's
here.
1950s here in America, and I, the middle income earner, have just returned from fighting in the most devastating war of human history.
Yep.
But we Americans came out on top, and our economy is booming. I work in this car
yippee!
factory. It's one of the mini factories that was converted from making weapons to now making valuable stuff that we're shipping around the world. Our country is getting rich.
That's
I am
good,
making
yeah.
an average income. So my income right now is $4,400. In today's money, that's more like $41,000.
Okay, yeah, that's an average. That's actually just a little bit. Yeah, most people are earning like 30,000. I'd say like 30,000 is a very like average number.
I'm going to
40K
adjust
is a
everything
lot.
for modern
That's a
dollars,
good
in
jump.
this case $2023. Prices are higher these days, so our money's more valuable to make it all make sense. Okay,
Ah.
pause. I'm not going to do that every single time, like talk about the inflation. I'm just going to say everything from now on in modern dollars. It'll
Okay, yeah.
allow us to compare a lot easier between the decades. Okay, with that, let's get all the magic going again.
This guy's
Cool,
production
right?
quality
Let's
is
meet
kind
my
of
family.
crazy, dude.
So my wife doesn't work. Only a third of
Wife! Wife! Oh my god! Do you have a wife?
women did back then.
No
And
way!
really, she doesn't need to. My factory job
skinny?
supports the whole family. And look,
She's probably on Quaaludes. For those that get the reference, please laugh. Please laugh. Round of applause.
I own that home. I paid $84,000 for this thing, again in modern dollars. That's actually not that much more than my yearly salary. This is considered very affordable.
I'm sorry, I ADHD'd out. How much?
I paid $84,000 for this.
Oh my god. What the fuck? $84,000? All you had to do was maybe save up for 2 years and give half a down payment on the house? God, that would be such a dream.
Thing, again in modern dollars.
Oh my
That's actually not that
goodness.
much more than my yearly salary.
That's
This
in
is considered
today's money,
very
yes,
affordable.
correct.
And a major reason why is because the government is helping me pay for a lot of this. And they've got the cash to do it. I mean, look at the top tax rate for the rich.
92%.
So a booming economy and all this
Wow.
tax revenue means that the government is helping build all of these suburban homes and is giving us veterans good deals on mortgages so
I
that
have my opinion on suburban housing. I have an opinion on that. I think suburban housing in America is part of the reason why they're very unlivable and unwalkable, but that's another thing. That's
we can
another
get
thing.
in on the prospering
Yeah, and
U.S. economy,
HOAs too,
start building
ugh.
wealth by owning a home.
Our returning
But it's
serviceman
something.
who was starting his own business would get a financial boost from the government.
The
The money would be
government.
advanced to buy property or a home.
We're coming out of World War II.
Yeah.
There are absolutely lots of public programs. Policymakers today and back then had a lot to do with how typical workers and their families were doing.
Ronald
Okay, so the
Reagan.
economy is booming. Let's see how all of this prosperity is being shared. And for
Dude, I just can't get over the fact that a house is $80,000. He works a factory job and he owns a house, or he has a mortgage on it. Let's just say he doesn't own it, like literally. He has a mortgage on it. That's like actual fantasy fiction at this point. And the top tax rate was 91%, and somehow America didn't collapse into communist lava. Like, what?
that, I'm
That
going to
seems
show
so
you
crazy
this
to me. Is
amazing
that not
graph. I love
insane?
this graph. We're going to see it over the decades, and it tells a very useful story.
Family income growth by group. Top earners, me. Oh, median, and then low earners, which is like lower middle class or lower. Wow.
This is my income, the median earner. Here's the income of the top earners, and this line is the low income in America. And down here is like
Chat, you want to bet that the top earners are going to be like up here? They're going to be off the chart.
years. Okay, watch what happens. Ready, go.
Okay. Top earners.
Look
Okay.
at this. Look what's happening.
What is going on over here? Top earners learning less than. Is that because of taxes?
All three of these income brackets are increasing their income at the same rate. We are all getting in on this prosperity.
No
We are
way,
sharing the spoils of a
what?
booming economy. Nice.
In the roughly 2-3
Wow.
decades after World War II, we saw
Wait
what
for
I
it.
would
I'm
consider
waiting. I'm
broadly
waiting.
shared prosperity. As the economy grew, as workers became more productive, workers across the board were actually seeing gains in their living standards.
So income across all the classes grow at the same rate, they said, right? Shared prosperity. Okay, this is when that country was actually cooking. It's not perfect, still super racist. When did what is it called? When did the segregation stop? I wasn't alive. I'm really bad with numbers, but still super sexist. But at least the money was moving in one direction, and it was going up for everybody, and not just for one section of people. Mid-60s. Okay, yeah.
It's a great indicator that income equality in the United States is good and healthy. Okay, last thing for the 1950s, let's check in on the American dream. Can I move up the ladder? There's a really nice data set for this that says that I am nearly 100% likely to earn more than my parents.
Likelihood of earning more than my parents for those born into median income. Why is the graph going down? Chat, why is the income going down? Why is it going down?
There is upward motion in the
on?
economy. The American dream is alive, at least for me, which is an important caveat here. Women were mostly left out of this economic version of the American dream. And
As they should. I'm kidding, obviously.
People who weren't white,
It's
like
a
Black
joke.
Americans, 10% of the population,
yeah.
over 1 million of whom fought in the war,
Yeah,
but
the Jim
upon
Crow
returning
laws.
were met with these custom maps that were drawn to determine where they could and could not buy homes. They were largely left out of all of this
And couldn't even go to restaurants, too. You guys know about that?
government help that allowed me
And
to get
areas and
education
toilets
buy a
and
home
drinking
build well.
fountains.
But if you're just looking at the numbers, the 1950s was a
They
really
got
good
screwed,
time
yeah.
for the median income earner. You could have a family, work in a factory, and be loaded with opportunities to move up the economic ladder, thanks to a booming economy and a bunch of government programs.
Wow.
So now let's move forward in time to the 1970s.
Yippee!
Welcome to the 1970s. A lot has changed. The economy is producing a lot more prosperity to go around, as you can see by this graph, and we'll see how that's all being distributed in a second. But first, let's check in on my pay. I'm still working in a factory. I now earn about $66,000. That's an improvement from the 50s. Or should I say we? Like millions of other women, my wife has entered the workforce.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, chat. So now we need two incomes to live the same life one guy had in the 50s, and everyone claps and is like, yippee, female empowerment, when really it's just corporate America sucking your fucking balls dry and realizing they can milk both halves of a household and they frick you over even harder. That's when everything goes downhill. Like, jokes aside, genuinely not a good idea.
They still only earn 60% of what men do, but look, they're breaking into the
And double the taxes of one household. Yeah. Wait, chat, you're kind of catching on.
workforce. Nearly half of all women are going to be working by the end of the decade. Partly as a push for freedom and economic autonomy, but partly as a necessity. It's becoming harder for a family.
Don't be a clown. Take women seriously. I'm all for taking women seriously. You should... Man, they got psyoped. They actually got psyoped. I wish I could go back in time and somehow, like, appear in front of these women and be like, stop what you're doing. You don't understand. You're gonna fuck me.
Family to be supported by a single earner. The result is that our income is better off than it was in the 50s.
I come from the future.
But things are also kind of expensive right now. Inflation is up. Partly because there's war in the Middle East and they're cutting us off oil, so there's long lines at these gas stations and everything is more expensive. Anyway, check out my house.
Wait, I didn't know about that. That sucks.
I had to pay $230,000 for this house. Housing is getting more expensive, and the government is raising the interest rate to slow down inflation, which is making my monthly payment a little more expensive. Home purchasing is becoming a little less accessible to the median, but I still have this cool house. Okay, let's go back to this super useful graph that tells us how the economic spoils are being shared. Remember, that's me, the median income earner.
The great graph, okay.
And look, my income continues to grow at the same rate as the high income and low income earners in our country. The growing economy is being shared by these different income groups. It's actually pretty impressive how tight everything is moving together as the economy.
Yeah, there's some, what happened in 1969? Was that the end of the Vietnam War? When did the Vietnam War end? When did the Vietnam War end? 1975. Oh, wait, when did it start then? Start. 1955. Wait, what? That war went on for 20 years? Cheese and crackers, I need to brush up on my history. Goodness. 55. It went on for 20 years? I thought it was like 10. God damn. America only went in the last 2 years. Oh! U.S. entered in the late 60s. We got involved in 67. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, never mind.
Bros. Oh, and look, they've started collecting data on how much more CEOs are making than the typical employee. Looks like by the middle of the decade, it's about 26 times more.
Corpos doing nothing.
Are CEOs making too much? Is that bad? What do you think? I don't know. Let's keep an eye on this chart as time continues. We can assess if we think this is unfair. Okay, but what about the American dream? How easy it is to make more than your parents? Well, if I'm
What is going down?
an adult in the 1970s, it means I was born in the 1950s, which according to this data set means I'm 80% likely to earn more than my parents.
I mean, that's a lot.
Pretty good. The American dream seems to be doing pretty well. So I would say that economic life in the 1970s is better for the median earner than it was in the 50s. And something that we're not covering here because we're looking at the cold hard data is that there's also a revolution happening that's making it more equal and more fair for minority groups in the United States.
Yeah.
So these are good trends.
Yep.
Let's see how they continue as we move on to the 1990s.
Yay.
Guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are gonna love it.
To get to the 90s, we have to go through the 80s.
Everyone doing coke.
And look at all of this economic growth. The president has been very busy slashing taxes, getting rid of regulation and social programs, and rejiggering the economy to benefit businesses, making it harder for workers to gather and get leverage over their employers.
Oh, chat, we're getting to boss fight territory. This is the patch where the devs nerfed working class players, chat. New patch just dropped. Reagan, he's the big boy.
And look, we are arriving to the 1990s.
Woo!
What a great decade. Hi, me again. I'm out of the collage world because I gotta tell you about the
What are you
sponsor
chewing,
of today's
big bro?
video. Because if I didn't have sponsors, I wouldn't be able to make videos.
The
Thank you,
Reagan
Saley, for
expansion.
sponsoring today's video. I'm very excited about this one. It's actually a part of a trend in the world that I've been more and more excited about, which is the advent of eSIMs. I know that sounds really
eSIMs are
nerdy,
pretty
but
cool,
eSIMs
huh,
have changed
chat?
my life.
Wow.
In the old days, when I would go to another country, I would go into some kiosk at the airport and buy a physical SIM card and put it into my phone so that I could get 5 gigabytes of data for my phone while I was in the other country. And once the 5 gigabytes was up, that was it. Saley sells eSIMs where there is no physical SIM card. All you do is download the app and then choose from the hundreds of countries and territories and regions that they have in their marketplace. So many different
I've heard
countries.
nice things about
I think they've
Saley,
got them
but I
all,
don't
plus
travel, so
territories. Choose how much data you want between 1 gig and 1,000 gigs. And boom, that's
1
it.
billion gigabits.
One very clear, cheap price, no weird fees. I could go to San Marino and get 10 gigs of data for 20 bucks. I used this recently when I was in Saudi Arabia. Also used it in Finland. Oh, and as an added bonus, when you have the Saley app and you are connected to one of their eSIMs, it also protects your traffic and has built-in ad block. Saley is giving my audience 15% off their first eSIM purchase. Use the code Johnny Harris at checkout and you'll get this 15% discount. Again, that's Saley.com/Johnny Harris. The code is Johnny Harris, no spaces. Thank you, Saley, for sponsoring today's video. Let's leave my room full of maps and get back into the 1990s.
Ooh, blockbuster.
The big standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union is over, and people are stoked. We enter the 1990s with this little recession. We're getting ready for a big surge of more growth thanks to the rise of the internet. Remember, I am still playing the role of the middle income earner. Okay, so it's not like I was born back in the 50s and I've been growing up. I am a young adult who is the middle income earner. How am I doing? So I still work at a factory. America is still a manufacturing powerhouse here in the 90s, though that is literally right about to change. I wish I could warn myself. My house...
Yep, the new patch is about to drop. Like I said, they're gonna nerf factory workers by like 99%.
Household brings in $76,000 a
Yikes.
year, which is definitely better than the 50s and 60s, but you can kind of see that things are flattening out. And in fact, I'm not making that much more than I was in the late 70s. Check out my cool 90s house. Cost me $273,000. That's almost 4 times our yearly income.
Not
Way more
good.
expensive than in the 50s.
Yeah, that was twice. Now it's 4 times. Wonder what happened.
Is
Do you still have to pay a really large interest rate? I wonder.
a little less affordable. Okay, the economy's doing well. How are we sharing all of this economic prosperity? Remember we started back in the 50s and we saw how the high income, the low income, and me, the middle income, we all saw similar growth in our income gains. We all got in on economic growth equally. That continued through the 70s. But wait, look what happens right here. Whoa.
Whoa, what happened? What happened right here, chat? Whoa!
They're diverging.
Uh-oh.
It's around the 1980s when you see the top earners start to pull away from the rest of us. Their income is going up faster than mine, and my income is going up a little faster than the low-income population.
I wonder if that's anything to do with the CEOs getting paid 5 billion trillion times more than me. The average worker who's actually busting their ass inside of the factory.
Okay, that's unsettling. I liked it more when they were all kind of like on top of each other, growing at the same rate. We'll keep an eye on this graph, but there's a bunch of other graphs starting to come out. Another divergence happening on how productive the economy is versus how much I get paid. They're both going up at the same time. I'm more productive, I get paid more. Cool. But around
but then look what happened right here. It starts really going far apart. I think this is the most extreme one because this one flatlines completely, but then it goes up here. Productivity up, wage stagnate.
the same time, the same
Bada
split
bing, bada
happens.
boom.
My pay starts to flatline even as productivity continues to go up.
So then there's this period that starts around 1979 in the early 80s where we see this pulling apart between economic growth and what typical workers and their families receive from that economic growth.
So who's getting in on all this extra productivity? This growth that's happening in our economy? If
CEOs. The big boys. Jeff Bezos.
not me. Well, let's check in on those CEOs. So remember back in the 70s, CEOs were making like 25 times more than the typical worker. Kind of seems like a lot.
That's a
Let's see what
lot.
happens here. Oh my God.
Oh my god! What happened? What 400%? We went from 7 years, in 7 years, we went from 100% more to 300% more?
Look at this. Okay, whoa, by the end of the 90s, CEOs are making almost 400 times the typical worker. And I thought 20 times was a lot.
Dude, why are CEOs making 400 times the amount of a worker's salary? Bro, if a CEO is 400 times more productive than I am busting my ass at a factory, they better be making like 50 cars a minute and then doing it blindfolded. Like, how does it make any sense?
Those at the top
Because they're
are
important.
receiving
yeah, my
much
ass.
larger shares of that growing economy than those at the middle
What?
or at the bottom of the wage distribution. So that pulling apart, that increasing economic inequality is apparent no matter how you look at it. That pie is going increasingly to the very top.
Okay, but isn't inequality often seen as a byproduct of rapid economic growth? Could this be a good thing for our economy? Yes, people are getting really rich really fast, but it's because they're innovating and making our economy more productive. And plus, everything I've shown you is before taxes, guys. So like the rich pay a lot of taxes. Okay, so
Yeah,
let's
about
see what
that.
happens to the income of the rich people after taxes. Here we go. Oh. Okay. Well, the taxes didn't do that much. There's something going on here. The rich are getting really rich really fast.
Rich get richer, bros.
What these lines all show is that 1980 was kind of
mia.
this inflection point in our economy, where the top
Reagan basically took one look at the economic ladder and was like, what if we start milking their balls really hard?
earners kind of started to get in on most of the prosperity.
Yeah.
And yes, there are economists who argue that inequality isn't bad for an economy. It actually spurs growth and investment into the economy, and eventually that raises all boats. It trickles down. And advocates for this way of thinking say that we shouldn't focus on inequality, but instead on poverty reduction. Okay, poverty reduction? How we doing? Poverty plummeted after World War II.
Yeah, and
but
then it
you
goes
can
back
see
up.
that at this time, in like 1980, when inequality starts to get really bad, poverty basically stays the same. Goes up for big series of years. So this is concerning.
Ooh, that's not good.
And
Ooh, that's not good. It's gonna go.
this is my interpretation of the data. I'm sure some of you
And
have.
you know what's funny is that the poverty, I don't know where it's gonna land. And ironically, obviously, I don't have all these graphs memorized or anything, but I think you can disguise poverty with credit card debt and credit card loans a lot more easily, because back in the day you couldn't get like a credit card loan and disguise your poverty by purchasing groceries through credit cards. I think that really shot up around about like probably I'd say like 2000, maybe even the 1990s. I know that for a fact there was a woman that I remember at my old job. She said that she had a friend that was so poor because she kept like buying groceries using credit cards, and then when that credit card she couldn't pay it off, she'd use a new credit card to like pay off the next one. And I'm like, what the hell? Like you have to do that? And she's like, yeah, there's like this woman that I know. I'm like, do people actually do that? Like I thought that was kind of a joke.
Have very different interpretations, and I would love to see you down in the comments. Anyway, let's check in on the American dream. America's all about big risk, big rewards. So yeah, inequality's happening, but like if you can go from rags to riches, maybe that's very American and okay. I was born in the 1970s, I'm now an adult in the 1990s, and the data says that 59% of us born to the middle income will out-earn our parents. So that means that 40% of my peers here in the middle income will earn the same or less than their parents.
What?
Even as we are seeing all of this
And this is in the 90s, dude.
economic growth. I mean, you can see this trend here. The American dream of
Wow.
being able to move up the ladder is becoming less and less a reality for a bigger and
Challenging.
bigger
That's a
portion
nice way to
of
put it.
the population. Okay, so that was a big change from all the trends. Let's see what happens next.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually,
Look at that
it's
graph
more like a
going
big
up. We're
ball
doing
with wibbly
real
wobbly,
good, right,
timey-wimey stuff.
Okay, we're moving into the new millennium. America's fighting a couple of wars. The economy's actually doing pretty well until, whoops,
Whoa,
the bankers
whoa.
got a little loosey-goosey for a couple of years, making
What happened here, chat? Oh, that's right. All of our parents were like, Alana, you can't have Christmas presents this year. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Whoopsies!
obscene amounts of money and
Christmas
crashing the
presents
entire
this
world
year.
economy. But okay, let's move on from the biggest recession of our time. We're arriving to the 2010s. This
You're
is a
playing on your Wii or your GameCube and your parents are fighting about finances and what to do. Thanks, Obama.
world that most of us are familiar with. Let's see how the median income earner fares. I don't work in a factory anymore. All of those jobs have dried up and been shipped to Asia. So I now work as a middle manager at an insurance company, and my household income is $81,000 a year.
You know what's funny? One of my like guild leaders back in like I want to say 2013, and I know this is 2000. Wait, this is 2010. Yeah, one of this is 40-year-old guy. He was a middle manager at an insurance company. I just remembered that all of a sudden. I think it's like a really common job.
Which is, wait a minute, same as 1997, but wait, during this same 13-year period from 1997 to 2010, the economy grew by this much. I mean, that line's going up. The economy's
It's
making
still
more
going
stuff,
up.
there's more prosperity. Even when you adjust for inflation per capita, the economy grew. There should be more to go around. But my
So, you're telling me in the time that it took from like creating Microsoft, and then we started creating like AI girlfriends like in the late 2010s. Wages didn't move at all. This stinks of like feudalism. Like how does prosperity go up that much, but nothing's changed?
Household pay is the same as it was 13 years previous. Why? Well, we'll see in a second, but first, let's talk about my house. I always love talking about my house. Look at this beauty.
Wow.
I can still afford a house. In fact, here in like post-recession America, housing prices are actually pretty low.
In other countries, it's not the case. At least not in New Zealand, because there was another problem. I remember my parents were like talking to me about it as a kid. They're like, "Mommy and Daddy can't really afford a house right now. We're gonna have to stay in this old house for a little while longer." And I'm like, "Okay, can I go back to playing on the computer?"
Bubble burst. Interest rates had to go down to stimulate the economy. And so home purchasing was actually pretty accessible for a few years. But
I don't
worry,
know about America.
housing prices will be back on the rise in a second.
Sure.
And in fact, they'll start rising faster than my income, making housing less and less affordable. And homeownership still seems to be available mostly for certain groups, and not as much for others.
It's
in
the
fact,
whites.
that hasn't changed much since the segregation days. Meanwhile, I think I know what's going to happen to this graph. Yep. The rich are just getting richer faster than my
The internet also played a huge role in that, dude.
income is going
Holy.
up. And my income's kind of stagnating. Okay, what about the CEOs? Did they pay a price for the big bubble person? Nope. They didn't.
Not
I mean, they kind
really.
of did up and down, but they're still, by the end of the decade, getting paid hundreds of
You're
times.
still getting paid. Like, let's say this crash right here, you're still getting paid 160 times more than the typical worker, bro.
More than me.
What?
Maybe they think they are hundreds of times more productive and they deserve it. I mean, you get the point on the inequality stuff. This is what we've been hearing about for a long time. All of these graphs have the same shape. This
Yikes.
great divergence that happens in the 80s, where the economy is growing, but the wages for the average person just kind of flatten, while the top earners just sort of get in on all of that prosperity. Okay, but the American dream, you can climb the ladder, right? So if you're born in the
good one.
1980s, which I was, you're now an adult in the 2010s.
Oh my god, status.
And it looks like for the median earner, the majority of us will earn the same or less than our parents.
And then those parents, look, if you're born in the 1980s, your parents are probably boomers, right? And those boomers tell those Gen Xers and late millennials that they should just pull themselves up by the bootstraps, even though statistically speaking, they're not supposed to earn more than their parents, like statistically speaking.
Yeah, this is a problem and probably doesn't seem fair to a lot of people. But wait, there's hope.
Star Trek, Terminator, Time Cop, Time After Time, Quantum Leap, Wrinkle in Time,
Oh, here we
Somewhere in
go.
Time, Hot Tub Time Machine. Hot Tub Time Machine.
Okay, I'm back. 2025. That's when I'm making this video. So
Okay.
that's modern day for me. We went through a pandemic, the economy kind of got freaked out for a little bit, and the median
look at
income
that
earner
nipple
actually
here.
started to see some gains after years and years of flatlining. So
This is a really sharp uptick too. This is even sharper than the 2008 dip. Because this is like very gradual. This was like ba-doom and then bam.
you do see some potential movement here, some hope. But let's get back to the original question that we started this video with. Is the average American better off now than they were back in the 50s and over these decades that we talked about? In a lot of ways, the answer is yes. Especially if you are a woman or not white, then the answer is yes, at least in terms of economic opportunity. But what we've seen on this journey is that the American economy has produced an incredible...
Wait. I kind of disagree with that. I think that being a woman, specifically a white woman, or a person of color, we've seen that with CEOs hiring people based on skin color more now. Yeah, DEI is still very much a thing. Yeah, I don't know.
incredible amount of prosperity and growth over these last 7 decades.
Person
And that
of
was
white
shared
color.
broadly by all of us
White
for a
woman.
time. But in the last 30, 40 years, the data is very clear that the fruits of the economic growth these days
He's saying they're benefiting the most, Alana? Did I actually miss out? Hold on, let me read it. I'm sorry. Does that not agree with what he said? I might have spaced out and not listened to it. Hold on, let me listen to it
over
again.
these decades that we talked about. In a lot of ways, the answer is yes. Especially if you are a woman or not white, then the answer is yes, at least in terms of economic opportunity. But what we've seen on this journey is that the American economy has produced an incredible amount of prosperity and growth over these last 7 decades. And that was shared broadly by all of us for a time. But in the last 30, 40 years, the data is very clear that the fruits of the economic growth these days have not been broadly shared. One group is collecting most of the growth. And I didn't even talk about wealth. And
it's just crazy. It's gone up less than a fraction, and these people are freaking $1.1 million, and you're making like 50K, maybe 60K.
And I didn't even talk about wealth.
We're getting mogged.
Like the stuff you just own and how that makes money. We were talking just about income on this. Now, this isn't the first time that we've been in this situation. The top 10% collected almost half of all the income way back in the early 1900s before World War II.
Oh, even before that, feudalism was a thing. Except now it's guys like it's not really feudalism because you rent as opposed to living on the street.
We changed that. Look. And the income starts to be distributed more equally. But this graph tells the same story. Look, 1980, boom, here it goes. We're back.
So you're telling me we need another war? I'm joking. I don't want that, but what's this? What's going on over here? What happened? 1942 or
back to where we
1945?
were. Now, does this mean that our economy is broken? No, actually. Our economy is not broken. It is working exactly how it was designed to work. And this, and this, and this, and this, it's the result of changes to the rules, policies that end up determining who gets the money and who doesn't. These policies are made by people that we elect.
And the 1% buys out those people, bro.
And if we don't think that this is fair,
to make it more
we have
fair,
the power to pressure them to design a system that is fair. Now, the medium income earner doesn't have nearly as much power these days. The top income earners and the corporations have really gotten their foot in the door for the people who have the power to set the rules. So it's harder than ever. But this still is a democracy. And if we don't think a system is fair, we still have the power to pressure our politicians to change it. And
they don't buy them to select them? What the fuck do you think lobbying is? Do you not know what lobbying is, little chatter? Lobbying is very much alive and real. And it's legal. That's the fun part.
It's not actually just about income inequality. Yes, that has risen. The rich get richer much faster. It's also about the American dream, this idea of being able to move up.
It's freaking dead. It got paywalled, bro.
Get educated, if you work hard. As inequality has gone up, the American dream has gone down. These graphs are built on robust data, and this is the story that it tells. The rungs of the economic ladder have gotten wider and wider apart. And that American dream, ironically a term coined by a rich investment banker born into a rich family in New York City, that dream is looking more and more like a myth.
Yep. And again, now politicians are owned by lobbyists because they have even more money to buy them out. Workers have more leverage in this regard. They lost all their jobs being factory workers. The middle class has shrunk because those jobs have disappeared because we've outsourced everything. And now the middle class is a speed bump on the road to, like, billionaire fucking money tax shelters or whatever they're called. I don't fucking know what they're called exactly. But yeah, basically, all the money got siphoned. Like, that's the most important line in the whole video that the system isn't really broken. It's that it's working exactly as they designed it to exist. It's not a bug, it's a feature. The rules were changed, they were patched out gradually, and guess who wrote them? Not you guys! Really good video, really put some introspective on things. Me as a factory worker, I could actually own a home. As a middle-class person in the 1950s, I could have a wife that sat at home and took Ambien and Quaaludes to calm herself down. So social media didn't exist. And you could raise a family on a one-income household and send them to school, and then retire at 60. Now, in 2025, the great year 2025, you have to work 3 jobs, and then also if you are lucky enough to have a partner, you also have a partner that has to work 3 jobs. You rent a shoebox in the middle of LA, and then you have to pay health insurance that costs more than your car insurance most of the time. Like, what happened here? Like, again, people aren't asking for a utopia. Utopias are non-existent for a reason. They're a fantasy. People just want the fair roll of the dice. But the table that we're all playing at this freaking point is tilted. And the dealers, which is the top 1%, is cheating. They're cheating you, and they're siphoning your balls.